let's talk aroids. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Roos and this is Rogier. We have just filmed several videos here for you and we just wanted to give you a little close-up of the plants that we're not talking about. Because we did make a really nice setup as a background kind of. So let's talk aroids.
Because I'm pretty sure that the most comments will probably like, oh, what's that aroid in the corner? No one will talk about like, oh, nice Hortia.
Yes.
No, it's like, oh, is that a Schismatoglottis? Yes.
No,
this is a Schismatoglottis. Yes. So let's treat this one first.
Okay.
This is a Schismatoglottis. It's quite a tongue breaker. But I love these aroids. They are from Southeast Asia. For example, many occur in Indonesia and Malaysia. They are ground cover plants, but they are not so well known. And I don't think that's very deserved because they are so much more pretty than many of the popular aroids that everybody wants. This species, it was given to us by a friend and we don't exactly know the species name. So it's just Schismatoglottis species. What do you think, Roos? Which one should we treat?
Maybe the forgetii that's right there that we talked about a little bit.
Forgetii, yeah, you're pronouncing
it. I said it right.
Yeah, you said it right. So actually this forgetii came from the same person. Yeah, and it's the normal non-striped form, which is beautiful because it has this velvet shine. I don't really have to sell these plants.
Nope, that's one of my favorites right there.
People know this plant. If we stick to Anthuriums, we have this one over here and we have another one over here. I'll get them. They're both the same species. Anthurium crystallinum. This is a more selected form with broader silvery veins. This is a more typical form. When they get older, the leaves get a little bit darker and big. We have one of these super old plants which produces a lot of seeds, and I prefer the babies above the really mature plants. Like this size, it's the most beautiful size for crystallinum. I think overall a super interesting plant which, well, everybody already knows.
Yes.
With all the other plants, I really feel that I have to sell it. Like this is really a nice plant. With this one, I'm actually not so enthusiastic, but I think most of your viewers will be.
Yes. Wait, can we show the little baby leaf? Can you turn it a little bit?
Oh, it's a little bit reddish.
Because I love the baby leaf so much, and especially on this one because it's so red.
Yeah.
Is this also one from the plant that had seeds?
No, this is a separate one, but the ones that we have here that produces seeds has equally red young leaves. One seedling is more reddish than the other ones, but they tend to have very red young leaves.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Then I think we talked about all Anthuriums. Let's go to Monstera over here. So we just have, well, we have two species of Monstera now. The one, your plant, this is the obliqua.
Ooh, yes, tiny baby.
And this is Monstera dubia, which most people know. This is the intermediate stage. It's not the intermediate form. When you talk about a form, it's a taxonomic status.
Something official.
So if you have a separate form of dubia, it means it's a special variety which is genetically different and will always be like that. So it's a stage. When they are small, they have this beautiful shingle way of growing. They are camouflaged. If they grow on the trunk of a tree, it looks a little bit like moss or lichens. And then when they get a little bit older, the leaves become bigger and the first holes will start to emerge.
Yeah.
And then when it reaches the light or the canopy, depending on where it's growing on, the leaves will completely change into these large leaves with the holes.
So they lose the pattern?
Yes,
fully? They just become green.
Exactly, and the pattern is also, it's not so efficient in absorbing light. So that's why when the Monstera is on a safe spot, it doesn't have to hide anymore. It can just go. It does make the big holes in the leaves, which there are the opinions about that change. I think this is a mechanism to cope with high winds. Many Monsteras live in areas where you have hurricanes, where you have strong winds. And especially when you take, for example, the leaf of a deliciosa, if you have a large leaf and you cut it off, try to wave it like that you use it like a fan. And you will notice that a leaf of a Monstera will hardly give any air movement compared to any other leaf that size.
Okay.
So that means that the wind cannot grab it really well. And that's why if you're high up in a tree and you get a hurricane, and for example a Monstera, it doesn't produce like a new leaf every week. For example, bananas, which are behind me, they produce many leaves. They're very cheaply produced. So if they all get torn down by the wind, it will make many new leaves. this one has to be a little bit more careful about the leaves. So that's why maybe the holes that they are there to protect the leaves.
Yeah, okay.
So then...
What about that gloriosum right there? Because that looks great on screen right now.
This one, okay, Philodendron. This is Philodendron gloriosum, again a plant from Niels, which is the dark type.
Okay.
I believe. Gloriosum is very variable. There are several forms in cultivation. This one I believe is called dark type. And it's indeed darker than the more common form. We also have that one, but I particularly like this form.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. It's not really my favorite Philodendron, though. For my favorite Philodendron we have to move a little bit over the table. Here. Philodendron luxurians. And you can see that I noticed that people have very different opinions about it. Many people prefer gloriosum. I really prefer luxurians, especially because of the back side of the leaf. You have to see them in real to see that. The veins on the back side of a luxurian's leaves are sort of buried in the texture, which is a very strange structure compared to gloriosum, who doesn't have that. And also it has a beautiful, this velvety shimmer. I don't know, I prefer luxurians, but if you prefer gloriosum, you have every right to...
I kind of prefer gloriosum because they're so wide or something. The gloriosum looks very neat.
Painted. Yeah, very neat. Yeah.
And this is a little bit more messy.
That's true.
But I didn't know about the rest of it. So.
Yeah, it also depends maybe on the clone, but yeah, these two are very distinct. These two clones.
Okay.
I'm calling them clones, not varieties.
Yeah.
We go to the next Philodendron. This one, melanochrysum.
Oh, my favorite.
Yeah, you like that one?
Yeah. It's so beautiful and it's so big as well. The leaves are so long.
Yeah, this is a cutting from the plant from the Utrecht Botanical Garden, which has been pictured a lot on
my Instagram.
on your Instagram as well. You have a nice selfie with it, which is one of, I think, your most liked photos.
Yes.
So you're not just in love with this species, you're in love with this particular clone as well.
Yes.
I had a discussion with someone on Instagram about this plant, because it seems that some of the clones which are sold remain in a sort of a baby stage. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure what happens, because this one grows like it doesn't even have a stick.
Yeah.
But still the leaves, they become bigger and bigger every time.
So much bigger, because mine is maybe growing 1/2 a centimeter every leaf, and this is the maturity is very different.
And I think this is not a clonal thing. I don't think you have something like a small melanochrysum and a big melanochrysum. Could be, but I don't think so. But what I do think is that the melanochrysums that are sold are grown from smaller cuttings, and they are really deeper in their baby stage, and it takes a longer time for them to develop. So that's why you have to put them on a pole that they can turn mature as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And this was a cutting from a thick stem. So it was, I think, about this size. We got a big branch. I put it on the moss. I didn't plant it. I wait for a stem to come out.
Yeah.
When the little twig came out and it made the first root, I cut it off. I cut a piece of the stem with the cutting off, and I planted that in moss. That was this particular cutting. Because the big stem then thought, oh, like crap, my shoot is gone.
My apical dominance is gone.
I'm going to make a new one. And then it's going to make a new one. Again, I cut that one off, and then the stem thought, crap again.
Yeah.
So it's making a new shoot. So I made 5 different plants out of one stem. I have the idea that this is better than cutting the stem into 5 pieces, because then the little growth has to come from a small piece. But now this growth came from a very large stem, and even when you cut it off later, it will still keep this growing speed somehow.
Okay.
I'm not sure, you have to test that to be sure, but maybe that's the case.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah,
it is very, very beautiful. This is maybe my favorite one on the whole table.
Yes.
And that might be rude to say with my tiny
No,
baby.
I can. It's not rude. I understand that.
So pretty. I hope mine will one day also become that.
I think so. Yeah. And then what you can do is you cut off this large leaf top and then plant it again in a pot, and it will probably keep growing like that. It's the same with Monstera dubia. If you make a cutting of this mature part, it will stay mature.
It will not go back to the baby?
No, it will not. Maybe if you make little stem cuttings, it will be so small that it will do that. But if you take the head of a mature Monstera, it will grow like that.
Cool.
Yeah. This one is a very cool plant, I find myself. This is Nephthytis swainei. And this is an African terrestrial aroid, which is a little bit for the connoisseur, you know, for the true aroid lover.
I've seen this, I think, on Niels's Instagram.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't see this on the Instagram of hipsters, you see this on the Instagram of people that truly love aroids.
Okay.
And it's a very cool plant. There are a couple of species, I think 4, I'm not sure. We have 3 here, and they are all like ground covers. This is the smallest one, and this one has this glaucous bluish leaves, which is very nice.
Very nice.
The other ones are a lot bigger, and they have green leaves, which is more boring. This one is very pretty.
Okay.
And it makes a creeping rhizome, so they slowly spread out, and they are like a ground cover. So when we have enough of this, and also a little bit when the aroid hype is over, we will plant them in the soil. Everything we plant in the open greenhouses now, which is of this, you know, type of plant, it will get stolen.
Okay.
Which is annoying, but I hope that eventually people will move on from the aroids to other plants, and then they will leave our aroids alone.
Then they can just grow in the
we have one Philodendron polypodides, which 2 times cuttings have been stolen from that plant.
So rude.
One time it was the bottom. That was actually the smartest person because that grows really well. And the second time was the tip of the plant.
Rude. Don't do that, people.
So I think we're sort of done. We have this one, but we're just going to ignore this one, don't you think?
We do not want to talk about this.
This is the species we do not talk about. This is Philodendron spiritus sancti. This is a plant of which I can proudly say is not in the possession of the botanical garden. This is a plant from Burger Zoo, but it's having a sleepover here. It has a long story why it's here at the moment, but currently they're also working on their plant team. And when everything is correct and everything is well there, we'll bring this plant back to there, because this used to be a plant in their collection for a long time, but they lost it. It died because of mismanagement a few years back, and luckily people stole some pieces. It's a very complicated story, but it was around. And then one of these people that had one of these pieces was about to sell this plant online, and that's the moment when I said you cannot do that, because it's a plant of a botanical garden. If you keep it, okay, we know that you have it, so you know when we can multiply it, you know it's there. But when you sell it, and especially now, because a plant like this is probably worth a few thousand euros, which is ridiculous.
The prices are so high.
It's ridiculous because it's really not that pretty. But the problem is, if that would happen, we would completely lose track of this plant. And the person that would pay a couple of €1,000 for this plant, if we would ask, like, can the botanical gardens have a piece back, that person would rightfully say, like, no, because I paid a couple of €1,000 for it, and if I have a cutting, you can buy it for a couple of €1,000. So luckily it's back in the world of botanical gardens. It's staying here for a while, it's having its small sleepover, and then eventually it will become back. But I hope they can make a very nice spot for it, because they are a zoo, they focus on animals. But this is equally rare as a rhino or an elephant, so this deserves attention. And what I'm afraid that if I would bring it back now, because they are now working on a lot of things, if this would end up in a corner,
doesn't get the attention.
With a big chance that it would die again. And if this one dies, then I know there is one left.
In the Netherlands?
In a private collection from this clone.
Wow.
So then it becomes very scarce. So we have to, but it's growing really well, because since it's here, let's see, this was the previous leaf, and this is the leaf it formed here.
Nice.
So it's making some nice progress, and it's already making.
There's another one coming, and the lobes are starting to form like
and also the stem, it's already twice as thick as it's forming now. The rhizome is becoming really fat. So it's really enjoying its place here, which is
doing well.
We grow a lot of orchids, and we are used to slow-growing, nasty, grumpy plants. And for me, these aroids are very refreshing, because it doesn't. If you hang this plant upside down on a string, it will grow. And it's
so funny, when we're in the houseplant community, we're all trying to keep these alive and grow them in our houses. And when I talk to you, you're like, aroids are easy. They're so fast and they're so easy.
But that's high humidity, lots of light, a very stable climate, and that's the thing. It's cheating.
It's cheating.
But if you, like any plant, if you have these right conditions, they will grow really fast. But many of these plants, I think, including this one, will form very good house plants. I think though if you plant this in house, all the leaves will grow one way, which will make it look horrible.
Yeah.
Because the only thing I find pretty about this plant when they are big and old, that these leaves are very nicely spread over the plant.
Yeah.
But that's when it's in full sun, but it's in a very bright spot with light from all directions.
Yeah, so you'd have to twist it.
For me, this is not a house plant. And it's sad that people have this so high on their wish list, even though there are so many prettier plants which are much cheaper and much more pretty in your house. But this is a status symbol.
Yeah.
This is like a green Ferrari. If you have this, you are someone on social media, which is, I think it's silly.
Not that important. It's about which plants you like to look at. Like this one.
Yeah.
And this one. And this one.
Exactly.
I like Anthuriums right now, sorry.
You will grow into, you know, Haworthia or
maybe. I have one now, so maybe I will start to learn to appreciate them more.
Yeah.
Because you also got me onto Hoyas.
Exactly. Yeah. And I actually do not like them, so that's...
About 1 year ago, actually, I was here and I was telling him, I don't even know if I'm in the shop, but I don't like Hoya. Now I have more than 50 different kinds in my house.
It took her literally 20 minutes to go from I do not like Hoyas to I want to have the biggest Hoya collection in the world.
I want them all! No, only the ones that I find pretty though.
Which is basically every single one of them. So it's okay.
Stop it.
Limit yourself.
No, I don't necessarily like the compactus.
Okay.
I don't necessarily like the carries.
Okay, 2 species that you do not like of the many.
I'm proud of those.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for showing us these insane plants. I'm so happy we had them as our decor for this video and the previous 2.
We did it a little bit on purpose.
We did. So if you enjoyed this video, please leave it in the comments below and tell us which is your wish list plant. It doesn't have to be on this table right now. And also, I would love to know why. Like Rogier was saying, do you want this one because you think it's beautiful, or do you want it because it's cool to have one? Or this one,
the same.
Obliqua.
These belong to the same category. They are cool to have, but they're not really pretty.
Yeah. I kind of agree, even though I'm very happy to have it and I'm not giving it back.
Like everybody of us has this feeling, like this. They call it like a unicorn plant.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if it's pretty, but it's
So we would love to hear that. Oh, give the video a thumbs up if you haven't yet, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and we will see you in the next video. Please, thank you so much to Rogier for all the information and having us here all day long, and see you soon.
See you.